My next question today is, what is God's calling? How do I know God's calling for, excuse me, for my life? Now, that's a good question. I want to differentiate between God's, as it were, his macro, his big picture will for your life, which is relationship with him. So God's will for my life is really that I be the branch and he's the vine, that I abide in Jesus. It's a relational understanding and paradigm, if you will. But God also has a call on our life. There are things God calls us to do. There are things God has purposed us to do. There are missions God has for us. There is a calling on my life, and there's a calling on your life. So how do we find the calling of God on our lives? Let me give you 4 or 5 really quick keys that I believe will help you with this. Number one, look into your heart. What is the thing? You know, I said in an earlier question, God's will is a relational answer, that you stay in relationship with him. So when I am in relationship with God, what is the thing that pops up in my heart? I know literally for me, I gave my life to the Lord Wednesday, I believe it was, July the 14th, 1984. The next day, I began to get dreams and visions about God's calling for my life. So when I entered into relationship with him, the calling started popping up. Bum, 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 bum. Do you remember, let me give you a real key to this. Remember John, I believe it's John 20. Peter's gone, he's kind of gone back to what he knows. He's gone fishing after betraying Jesus. And then he's there fishing and it's not working. I love these stories with Peter. And then Jesus is on the shore. Jesus has caught more fish on the shore than, you know, with Peter. Then Jesus, in a way, it's interesting. He uses the same phrase he tells Peter when he originally called Peter in Luke 5. Throw out your nets. And they throw out the net and they catch 253 fish. I believe it's 253. The gestation period of a sheep. Really interesting. They come back, they have a fishy meal on the seashore, fish and chips. And then what does Jesus say to Peter? Peter, do you love me? Feed my sheep. Peter, do you love me? Feed my sheep. Do you love me? I don't know if you get that. In a way, he's saying, Peter, are you in loving relationship with me? In that way, you'll find your purpose. Feed my sheep. God's will for Peter was loving him. God's mission and calling for Peter was to feed his sheep. So I would say this, come back to your relationship with God. Stay in that place of gloriously enjoying your relationship with God. And what pops up in your heart? What is the need you see? Secondly, I would say, where is your passion? What makes you angry? What makes you sad? You know, when Moses was growing up in Egypt and he saw the Egyptians abusing the Israelis, do you remember he killed a soldier because they were mean with the slaves, so to speak? And in a way, Moses was actually connecting with his call there. He was trying to do it in his own strength, with his fists, with his own force, wrong. But he was actually, even at that early age, the call of God to protect and shepherd and set free the people of Israel was rising up within him. So my point is, as you're walking with God, as you're in a local church, as you're flourishing in God, what do you want to see change? I'm living in New England here, and I think it's actually really part of my call that God has me in places like New England, in Wales, in France, where there aren't many churches. And I travel about, and I drive through a town and I go, man, we need to start a church here. We need to get the body of Christ flourishing here. I go into dead churches and go, man, these guys, we can flip this thing over in 2 days by getting everybody filled and teaching them to live in the overflow of the Spirit. That's part of my calling. That's part of my mission. That's part of who God calls me to do. So my point, I would say to you, as you walk with God, what are you passionate about? What makes you angry that you want to change? What makes you rejoice that you want to see more of? And learn to notice those things. How else can we know the will of God? I believe absolutely things like prophetic words, dreams, things like that can be a part of those things. The danger is at times I think those are like little, to me it's like a jigsaw puzzle, and God has a vision for our life and he'll use lots of different means to give us little pieces of those. The danger for all of us is getting a prophetic word or some dream and we take one thing and we make it much more than it actually is, or we interpret it in a way that is more than what God is saying. We add to it. So allow God to speak. The Lord came to Mary and spoke to her through an angel, spoke to her through Joseph having a dream, spoke to her through Elizabeth, her cousin, spoke to her through the shepherds, the wise men, spoke to her through Zacharias, spoke, you know, through all, and the Bible says Mary stored these things up and pondered them in her heart. So I would say absolutely allow God to give you these little flashes of inspiration, these words, but store them up in your heart. Bring them back to relationship with God and allow God to interpret them and show you what they actually mean, rather than you trying to figure them out and, you know, press like the round peg into the square hole, so to speak, to mix my analogies, rather than trying to force something that God actually isn't saying. So, two more things that will help you find God's call for your life. What do other people see in you? You know, I think when all of us need to be in relationship with others. There's a principle, you know, I'll often say in my church that I don't ordain people. Heaven ordains people. And my role, kind of in the apostolic, is more to recognize the ordination of heaven. Let me say that again. So it's not my job so much to choose, I think we'll make him an evangelist. My job is to recognize, who do I see with that gift and calling? If you come to my church and every week you're bringing people, you're winning souls, you're praying for the lost, you're leading people to Jesus, after a while I'm going to go, evangelist, yeah. It's not because I gave you that, I'm simply recognizing that. So I think for all of us though, God will have people in our life who will recognize the call of God upon our life, the call of God for our life, and can help us step into that. Lastly, and there's other keys to this as well, to find your calling, I would say, where's the grace of God? You know, if God's going to call you to do something, He's going to give you some natural gifting, but He's also going to give you supernatural gifting. He's going to give you the grace to accomplish the thing He calls you to. And when you're doing the thing God calls you to do, there's a grace. There is a grace upon me. I'm a shy, quiet, retiring person. And yet when I preach and teach, a grace comes upon me that even I feel, it's like I stepped into a new suit of clothes, quite literally. I feel that even right now as I'm speaking, and there is a grace that I step into that isn't there for some other things. I really know I don't have grace for some things. I am not great at organizing things. I don't have grace for admin. You know, I do it as a necessary evil. But find the place of grace and you'll begin to find the calling of God. Boom.